Hey, hello my friends. Shaking up my ketones. Get the good stuff in. Welcome. It is, what is it? It's the 22nd of July 2020 still here in New Zealand. It's Chat with Matt, half an hour to talk about whatever's going on for you. Hey, Sister Julie, that was quick off the mark. Half an hour to talk with whatever you wish to know. I think I've got one little question in on pre-request. Hey, Sister K. And if you want to type anything else in, please feel free, and I will hopefully see it scroll up. Sometimes I miss them, so if I seem to have missed it, don't think I'm ignoring it. I've probably just missed it. I'll try and keep my computer working at the same time. I'm out in my other room today for the first time I've ever done a live stream successfully from this room, and I know it's going to be successful today because I am on an Ethernet cable to my phone. I invested a significant amount of money. It was like 100 and I don't even want to say how much it was, but yeah, it was over $100 to get an adapter that allows me to plug my Ethernet cable straight into my phone. So because I don't get very good Wi-Fi out here, so now I can live stream with confidence from this space, which is great because Marie's got a few friends coming over to do yoga in the mornings on a Wednesday now, which was interfering with my ability to concentrate on talking. People are coming and going and waving at me. How are you guys going? We're through the full moon. New moon. We're through the new moon, which is great. So that was about 48 hours ago, just a bit over 48 hours ago. Things have settled a little for me. I'm not quite in the same level of discomfort with the discordance, emotional uprising / awareness that I was experiencing, especially over the weekend, which was particularly hard. So that's kind of good news, but it was good news anyway that I was feeling. It's kind of like, can we have acceptance around that experience, because that's what's going to help us get through it. I have talked to quite a few other people though in the last little while who still are feeling the effects of that, whether it's the effects of the moon or whatever. I can talk about that from my perspective, Julie, but it's probably not going to be as satisfying as you would like, because I don't get too big into things that, for the sake of information, when it doesn't actually help us take action to make our lives better. But I will talk to that. Children abductions and sexual abuse and the connections to what you want to call the Lizzies, which is a bit of a derogatory term for beings of darkness, because not all reptilians are dark beings for a start, and there are various forms of what some people would call Lizzies, e.g. races that are of reptilian origin. Not all of them are bad. That's not all of them are bad. And bad is a terrible term that I don't like to use. But not all of them work for the darkness. Not all of them are aligned with darkness. There are quite a few races, in my opinion, in my experience, of what we would call reptilian origin, which is just an origin, just like angelic, just like fairy, just like many other origins. These very early divisions of God Source universe dividing up to experience itself by picking particular attributes, definitions, if you like, to split into. So interestingly, just like not all angels are of the light, right? There are angelic beings who choose to align with darkness, and understand aligning with darkness is not some great big fucking sin to God, because God is all of it, right? God is light and dark. So we have to understand that. Those of us who align with light tend to think that anything of the darkness is against us, but it's really what balances us as well. So, and I'm not trying to say that what dark beings have been doing on this planet in the terms of abusing all of us, including children, and ritual sexual abuse and all of that they use to gain power through it just got heavy pretty quick, didn't it? Through basically, they feed on heavy emotion, and heavy emotion being trauma and torture. Many of us have fallen victim, I'll use the term victim, of this in other lifetimes. Many of us, myself included, have some pretty horrific memories of ritualistic torture in order to basically take as much of my energy as they could before they killed me, by putting me into severe pain, trauma, discomfort and suffering, as well as using the opportunity to mentally reprogram and put vibrations in my field that were intended to come with me into successive lifetimes. They're not stupid, right? Dark beings, quote unquote, what you might want to call Lizzies, they're not stupid. They are highly evolved. Some of them are highly evolved beings, just like some angels are highly evolved beings, just like some fairies are highly evolved beings, and others in those categories are not. So, you know, it's like a game of chess. There's white pieces and there's black pieces, and the white pieces aren't inherently better than the black pieces. They are all interacting so that we can, those looking in on the game, can enjoy a game of chess. God is, believe it or not, enjoying the expansion, the wisdom that's gained out of the interaction between light and dark in this cosmos and even on this planet. As we know, this planet has been going through an area of the cosmos for some time now, 5, 6, 7,000 years at the most, sort of thing, where darkness has a bit of an edge over the light. We're coming out of that time now and coming into a phase where we're building towards light having an advantage over the darkness, right? So we have these seasons, if you like, energetically, that give advantage to one or the other opposing teams of light and dark. And so that helps to keep the game very, very lively. Because everything keeps changing. The foundation or the soup that we're dealing with keeps changing. And so darkness has had rule for some time on this planet. And with that, they have instigated some very, very strong techniques for maintaining their dominance. And some of that is the ritual abuse, sexual abuse, and you know, physical abuse of children and women and all beings for that matter, have fallen victim to this. But particularly at the moment, it's very, very easy for them to be, you know, abducting children and torturing them and, you know, harvesting their blood and doing all sorts of stuff. It's happening. It's happening. It's been happening for a long time. So, but it's, you know, as the lightness is flooding in on the planet, these things are being exposed. Now, what to do with that, right? What to do with that? Because I think you wrote in, did you not? Is it Julie? I thought I friggin' clicked on this. Yeah, what can we do better to prepare for what is coming? Should we talk about ETs with friends and family? Only if they're open to it, right? Because alienating ourselves from others is not going to help. Maybe I'll just kind of jump track here. Maybe I'll come back to that in a second. Finish up, try and bring some finish to talking about the sexual abuse, child sex. It's coming out. It has to come out now, and it will be. The planet is being purged. It won't be. It's not like the planet's going to become free of dark beings. Just as when darkness really had a strong rule on this planet 1,000 years ago, it wasn't free of light beings. We were still coming. We were getting fucking crushed, but we were still coming and holding a semblance of light on the planet. The same will happen through the greatest era of light. The darkness will still be here on the planet. They will be, you know, hiding in the shadows, but still here because they have to be to keep some balance on the planet, right? And it's an inherent part of free will that everyone gets the choice as to whether they, you know, where they err. If they want to experience some darkness in their life, they are welcome to. It is part of establishing ourselves, maturing ourselves as a being, because the very reason for having a physical incarnation life is to have deeper experiences. The very reason that God's source universe divided itself up is to experience itself. One of the very first divisions was light and dark, right? This is a fundamental division that God uses to know itself, And so all of us as beings, as souls and as higher selves, coming to know ourselves, have to experience the darkness in order to bring relativity to the experience of light, if we're a being of light. And the same on the other side. For those who have chosen to predominate in darkness, they have experiences of dancing with the light, of trying to understand the light, so that they can better appreciate themselves as a being of darkness. And there's nothing wrong with them appreciating themselves as a being of darkness, because ascending into reunification with God through the path of darkness is completely as valid as ascending through the path of light. Non-understandable for us as beings of light. We cannot understand how anything can ascend through such horrendous experiences and downright evil acts, but that's our perspective. That's only our perspective. What we are considering evil is just based on the idea that we really appreciate light and love, and darkness uses love as well, but it's love of the dark as opposed to love of the light. We like the sort of well, it's not even that darkness doesn't have compassion, but they have compassion based on an understanding that darkness is the best and light is somehow uncomfortable. So you just have to flip the tables and understand that love is in both sides of the camp. It's just a completely different perspective of what is good and what is wrong. Anyway, it's a difficult conversation to have, but it is, I believe, important for all of us to realize that just because our perspective is aligned with the light, that doesn't make us inherently right, and doesn't make darkness inherently wrong. But we, just as they, have complete right to advocate for what we desire. And we have complete right to surround ourselves with that, and to distance ourselves and the society that we wish to create for ourselves from darkness and dark acts and beings who associate with darkness and think that darkness is good. It does help to talk about it, Julie, and it is a difficult conversation. And I know some people are going to get a little confused, a little upset, and a little concerned with these sorts of conversations. It goes against a lot of, ironically, what religion has been preaching, and yet religion has been infiltrated by darkness for a long time. Most religions to some level through this last period of time, last few thousand years, has been, overly influenced by dark agendas that keep preaching of the light, but basically as a controlled opposition, because they keep people disempowered. They keep the beings of light disempowered in their quest for light and their fear of darkness, because the one thing that darkness has over us is it feeds off fear. So if we fear darkness, they just feed off that. We're actually feeding them by fearing them. So they're quite happy to have us fear them. They don't want that sort of recognition. The beings of darkness don't work from wanting recognition that they're the right thing. They want to keep perpetuating that they're the wrong thing, but they're so powerful as the wrong thing that they rule over us because we keep fearing them. So one of the pathways of returning to a society that's more aligned in light is to stop fearing the darkness, to stop fighting the darkness, to stop making them so wrong, to recognize they are what they are, but we are advocating for a society that's aligned with light. We're advocating for a society where children are safe. We're advocating for a society where sexual predation and abuse and all of that sort of, I'll use the term narcissistic, even though that's a bit of a loaded term, and it's just a natural consequence of egos that have been bashed down, that egos get very centered on trying to cope. Narcissism is just a coping mechanism for people who have been wounded quite often, although it is also used by beings of darkness to create fear. So again, we have a tendency to label, they're just narcissistic, and we don't really dig into why. What is really motivating them? Because that's what matters. Some people are narcissistic because they are aligned with the darkness and they're looking to rule over others. Other people are narcissistic because they're very, very wounded and they're just trying to cope in the world, right? They're just trying to find their place as a bashed up ego. Completely different origins of being, completely different reasons for displaying similar behavior, and yet we tend to lump them all together and make them very wrong. Some need healing, others need boundaries, right? Others need boundaries. In my opinion, one of the issues that all of us as humans are grappling with right now is coming out of the structures of labeling things, of wanting to understand things in simplistic terms. Oh, they're bad, they're good. Very, very simplistic and not very helpful, right? And never very accurate, because the criteria which we label things, especially from this mental field of looking at the signs and the, assessing or analyzing these things, is always open to a lot of manipulation and not misunderstanding, it's not the right word I want to use, but error, basically. It's open to a lot of error. Ultimately, we have to come into our heart and see and feel what the truth is of any particular situation or being or person or whatever, and understand that it's always dynamic. And we love to put things in categories that have this idea that there's some sort of completion to that. Oh, we know about them. We've already categorized them, and that's how it'll always stay, right? This idea that things don't ever change. Oh, people don't change. What a load of shit, right? Everything changes all of the time. What a very limiting belief system to have. Oh, that person will never change. Oh, I'm sure they will. Right? They're changing with each and every breath they take. Your perception of them will also change, but it might not change very quickly if you're hanging on to the idea that they'll never change. Yes, so Julie wrote in and said, I'm just trying to understand the world in a spiritual crash course since a few months, so much to grasp. Ultimately, Julie, let go of trying to understand it too much, okay? Because you never will. I don't understand the world, and I don't understand energy and spirituality with my mind fully, and I don't have to, because all that really matters at the end of the day is that consistently though, you consistently come back into your heart and make choice based on what feels to you to be most appropriate, because you're not going to succeed through the process of understanding. Hey, Erina, this is a tricky subject. Letting people see your love and light and not judging their choice. We must evolve. I'm going to flick over to here. Give us a sec. I haven't actually looked up, because I know what happens when I start hitting see more on here. Let's see. No, it always gives me jip. I don't know, something wrong with my finger. Here we go. I've got you. We must evolve, and surely others will evolve too, hopefully towards paths of light. People evolve as they do evolve. It's inevitable that for the next little while, the next 3, 4, 5,000 years, we will be evolving towards light, because light is flooding in onto the planet, and light will influence everything that's evolving. So, over the next little while, and understand, for a creation that's been going on for a very long time, a few thousand years is a relatively small period of time. These are reasonably short cycles, and the cycle's more like 12,000 years. So, but we'll be building and then ascending, and then, so. But anyway, for the next little while, yes, things will definitely evolve towards the light, Sister Erina. And we don't really need to hope on that. We just know it and sense it. And the job is to keep evolving for yourself towards what you feel passionate about. Ultimately, that's all that matters. I don't care if you're a being of darkness, as long as you're following your passion and experiencing life full out, that's all that matters, because that's what we as God Source Universe desire, to maintain expansion, right? Fighting against beings of darkness just feeds them. And so making them wrong just feeds them. And our job is to find acceptance that they're there, and they have had the rule of power for a long time, and they have created a lot of suffering for those of us who have been very staunch with our allegiance to the light. We've been tortured and persecuted and all the rest of it, and we've felt beat up, and we've been left feeling hopeless, useless, and worthless, like failures. Because we haven't succeeded in maintaining a very strong influence of light, and not that we ever really could, considering the atmospheric conditions of where the planet's been moving through the cosmos. But also we've been, tortured and deliberately disempowered. That's their game. And now our job is to rise out of that and to have the experience of quote unquote healing and reintegrating ourselves, regenerating into a being of light that's far stronger than we've ever been before. That's the exciting bit. And then darkness will come back in however many thousand years as a re-emerged version of themselves as the planet starts to fall into a darker phase, and they will rise once again to have yet another go of ruling the planet. You might think, oh my God, what's the point then? The point is we're living in the moment. That's the point. And this is not about winning for the future. This is not about saving the planet for our children. That's a honorable thing to do, but it's fucking right now. It's right now. And we should not be, in my opinion, putting our happiness into some sort of future that we're working hard to achieve. Our happiness has to be right now. And when those of us who are aligned with the light choose to be happy right now, when those of us in the light choose to acknowledge ourselves right now, when we choose to appreciate what we are right now, then this planet will change quite quickly. And we will influence a lot of people in a lot of ways. So getting back to Julie's original question that she wrote in before the call started, was what should we be doing to prepare for these times? Should we be talking to our families about, ETs and all the darkness that's going on? And no, not really. What we should be doing to prepare and to help our families the most is getting very, very strong in our own authentic confidence in just trusting that everything is working out for the best. Because that vibration will ripple out and affect our families in a much, much more empowered way than starting to talk to them about things that they can't accept yet, because that will put them into fear and that will isolate them from you. So the better way to influence people in a more empowered way is to be strong and confident in yourself, so that when things do turn to shit, or if things turn to shit, because I don't know if there's going to be any great disclosure or appearance of ETs on the planet. That's a potential, but I'm not 100%, not even 50% convinced that that is the way that we will evolve, that we will choose to evolve. And it's certainly not set in stone. God does not know how we are going to move through this period of time. It's evolving. And so there's no point talking about potentials when they're not happening yet, because people will just think you're mad, and you will basically lose your ability to influence them if and when the time comes that they really need your help. So your job is to build bonds based in your authentic confidence, based in the fact that you really appreciate yourself and that you are confident in yourself, not brashly confident that, my shit doesn't stink and I know everything. That's not confidence. That's stupidity, right? We don't know everything. I don't know everything. You look out there in the world at all of the information that's being bandied around, and most of it is manipulated. Conspiracy theories are just as manipulated as the mainstream news. It's all very, very manipulated. It's very hard to tell what filaments are actual, quote unquote, what we call fact. And it's a ridiculous thing to think of anyway, because any particular fact is just based on a particular perspective, right? A viewpoint, a relativity, So, yeah, if we can't be humorous around this, then what chance have we got, Julie? So we have to bring humor into it, because it helps to break things up. Because if we get serious around these topics, we fall into stress. And if we fall into stress, we lose our power. Our power as beings of light is in staying joyful, in staying expansive. And that is, we use humor to do that, right? Sister Erina, when we seek inner peace, the universe vibes in alignment with us. Peace is the new sexy. Yeah, and understanding that the universe is already vibing to peace, and we just tune into that stream of energy that's being broadcast by the universe. There is a bandwidth of universal energy called peace. And when we quote unquote seek peace, we basically tune our receiver to that vibration, right? It's always there for us. Just like when we seek abundance or we seek prosperity, we change our vibration to reach that bandwidth. When we seek, fear and depression through whatever, then there's also a big bandwidth of that. So it's all there, right? It's like I was talking, when was I talking about time? It was either last week or the week before, but it's all in the book, right? It's all there. It's all there. The universe is complete. It's all here. But which page are we choosing to read right now? We can flick to any other page. We can flick to any other page. The universe, the cosmos, source, creation is complete. Our job is what we choose to align with. And we do that consciously through consistency, right? Consistent, conscious choice to align ourselves. Not through hoping and wanting, right? Not through contraction and trying hard, but through relaxing into our intentional choice. And peace is a great one to start with, right? Because there is no better way that darkness can control us than instigating a stress response in our physicality. Because once we go into stress, we get stupid, right? Our IQ drops. It's been measured. It drops very, very quickly, quite significantly. So it's easy for us to get confused when we're in stress. It's easy for us to get more stressed when we're stressed because we can't now cognate what's the better way to turn. Hey, Sister Luna. So relax, right? You can use humor to relax. We can use breathing techniques and meditation techniques and conscious choice to maintain a relaxed field, using exercise, using good food, water, company, elevated company that helps us remember who we are, company that helps us feel purposeful in ourselves. Because one of the ways that us as beings of light get very, very stressed is when we feel that we have no hope to be purposeful. That's very, very distressing for us, and it creates quite a strong stress response, which then ironically, of course, or maybe it's not ironic, but naturally holds us out of being purposeful, right? Because now the stress has robbed us of our ability to be intuitively guided in moments. So hopefully, Julie, I've answered that question. In my opinion, don't go talking to people about stuff that they're not ready to hear. If the conversation comes up, by all means, divulge what you know to the point which you feel that they can comprehend, but understand, always be willing to preface what you know as what you believe, because I've come to realize that I don't know much as the personality, as the egoic intellect. A lot of what I thought I know, I now realize is only a belief. It's only a perception. And it might be, and it's not that we need to throw it out, right? It's kind of like I think I gave the example a couple of weeks ago about Newtonian physics, because I'm an engineer, right? We know now through the study of quantum physics that Newtonian physics is based in a lie. It's not the truth. It's not the truth. But yet Newtonian physics fucking works. It works, right? We can build spaceships, we can build skyscrapers, we can build everything just pretty much that's been built thus far has been built via Newtonian physics, approximations of how reality works on this planet. But it's not the truth, and it's not the ultimate reality. So we're starting to see that we can go deeper. Now, do we need to throw Newtonian physics out the window? No. But we do need to start allowing our mind to realize that it's not the complete story, right? Not so long ago, they thought the atom was the smallest indivisible particle. And that was taught, that was fact. If you said anything else, you were wrong. Now we understand that the atom can be divided, and we can understand that the particles that we initially divided the atom into can be further divided, and we understand that those particles can also be divided. And so every step of the way, we think we found the smallest indivisible particle. Now through quantum physics, we realize there is no smallest indivisible particle because matter doesn't even exist, right? If we took all of the actual matter from this whole planet, it would fill a shoebox, a matchbox, right? With all the space was taken out of the matter. That's mind-blowing, right? This whole creation that we consider, very, very real and hard and physical is just energy vibrating, and it's mainly all empty space. It's just energy vibrating. So just as our thoughts are energy vibrating, and that's why when we start to understand this, that we can appreciate magic a lot more. We can appreciate our ability to manifest beyond logic, beyond the rules of Newtonian physics and the rules of what we call nature. They're not wrong because they've given us an experience here on this planet like we're living in the matrix, in the computer simulation that we believe is very, very real, to give us our opportunity to experience this reality and the duality of this reality. But those of us who are awakening, and it's not important that we all awaken and we all dissolve this illusion, because the illusion or the delusion is still working well for us, and it's still working very well for many, many souls to keep having their experience. And we're not here to blow that out of the water, but we are here as beings of light to step up and take and have a more influential role in how this planet is running. Not because that's the right thing to do, based on what God, source, universe wants, but because it's what we are truly passionate about as beings of light. And it is our right to live our passion. And the environment is now becoming much more conducive to us doing this, to returning the balance with darkness and to surpassing that balance to when light predominates once again. It's predominated many other times in the past, and it will do so until the darkness naturally starts rising. And then what happens is the darkness starts to overly influence those of us beings of light, and we tend to fail in some way. We tend to fuck it up. We get greedy or whatever, right? Because the darkness starts to creep up on us, and lost in the joy of the light, we tend not to see it coming. It's happened many, many times before, and it will no doubt happen many, many times again in what we call the future. And we don't need to be worried about that, because it's just like the tides come and go. It's not a wrongness, right? Some creatures really love it when the tide's in. Some creatures really love it when the tide's out. The fact that the tide comes in and out is what gives the whole shoreline its diversity and its magic. And it's the same. This planet is magical and magnificent place to learn our lessons, because we go through this cycle of light and dark. Because of it, and it's not our job to try and fix it so that it never gets dark again. And it's only a very limited ego that thinks that that's what we should do, and that we should destroy the darkness so that it can never rule again. Like, we can't destroy the darkness. It's like trying to destroy half of the yin-yang symbol and then thinking it's still the yin-yang symbol, right? It'll only be one tadpole without an eye if we destroy the opposite nature. Has that helped? How are we going for time, my friends? Kind of done it. Chat with Matt. Awesome, my friends. Hopefully that helped. Thank you, Sister Julie, for stimulating that conversation, and others who have joined in, Erina, and I shouldn't start naming names because I always miss some, so I won't. But thank you very much for stimulating that conversation. If you have been confused and are concerned and have fallen into fear, please don't. Please don't fall into fear. It's okay to be confused, and it's okay to feel a little bit destabilized, because that is what's happening. Many of us are having our strong beliefs and our structures stripped away right now so that we can evolve more effectively into new, more expansive modes. Darkness has used structures to keep us very, very limited, and should structures and progressional linear structures of success, right, that keep us thinking that we're on the treadmill. All of that. You're welcome, Jane. So be an allowance that at this time on the planet, it is very confusing, and there is a lot of contradiction going on, and that contradiction is not wrong, and you don't need to understand it all, and it's not your job to come to a fixed belief that you now understand, right? There's this, the mentality has been trained into this idea that to stay safe, we need to understand everything, and it is simply not the truth. You can be very, very safe when you accept that you do not need to understand, and thus you relax, because trying to understand something that is inherently complex and very hard to understand, if at all possible to understand, which I'm not even sure if it is possible to understand with this apparatus. When you give yourself permission to not understand, you release a lot of stress, right? Because you stop trying to do something that's almost impossible to do. And in that relaxation, you allow your intuitive guidance to flow through much more strongly or effectively, or whatever. We're aware much more of our intuitive guidance, and thus we can be led through this process in a way that is inherently much safer than trying to intellectualize our way through it. It's the big migration from the head into the heart. So allow yourself to get confused. Allow yourself to be okay that you don't understand. And also be okay and compassionate with yourself that it will be uncomfortable to go through this process, because we've lived through our heads for a long time on this planet, thousands of years now. We've had to rely on our smarts to stay alive, because we just simply have not had the ability to what's that word that starts with I again? Not instinctive, intuitively. We've not been able to intuitively get information because it has been so dense on the planet for so long. That density is lifting. We are getting much more intuitive guidance now, all of us, right? Without having have done huge amounts of training like we used to do in the past, to allow ourselves to get a glimmer of relationship with God or our higher self. We used to bloody cloister ourselves in monasteries and do rigorous practices for years or decades to attain a level of mastery in that level of darkness. Today we can do it so much more easily because that darkness doesn't constrict us. So the light is much more easy to align with for those of us who are beings with light. And so we do have intuitive guidance available to us. So relax into allowing that to predominate your life, rather than the mentality of trying to get it right and understand everything and take due caution based on rights and wrongs and rules and understanding. Okay, my friends, much love. I will speak to you again next week, if not before. I've just got back into writing big time. I've written 3 posts in the last 48 hours. I posted one, emailed one out last night. I will put that on Facebook shortly, and there's some more to come. I'm sort of back on that horse for a long time. I just could not be bothered writing. I wasn't inspired to write, so therefore I haven't written. And all of a sudden, a lot of inspiration's been flowing through. So look out for that. And follow your hearts, my friends. If you have any questions, that's what I was saying before. If you have got quite confused and and you feel you need clarification on any of these points, please feel free to post into the group and ask. And I'm happy to jump back on and do another little live stream at some stage and answer a question or write an answer if I can be bothered. I'm dyslexic and not a great writer. Hence why I fall off the bandwagon of writing out my inspirations from time to time. Anyway, my friends, enough of that. Bye for now. Much love to you all. Keep breathing, stay relaxed, and trust that everything's working out for the best. You do not need to overly intellectualize this process. Bye for now.